I tried to share my Latin American culture with my husband's stepson, but his biological mother's threats to keep him away broke my heart. I've been with my 32-year-old female husband, 39, for about 7 years. He has a son from a former relationship, 9, and we didn't even know he existed until about 5 years ago, when his ex, 40, contacted him demanding child support. She admits the only reason she even let him know about the kid was because she found out we were engaged, and she wanted to rain on his parade. After a lot of backward and forward legal shenanigans, we got sort of 50-50. First it was therapy, visitation, etc., but we are now at 50-50. Anyway, I come from Latin America, and my stepson is really fascinated by many of the cultural things in the language. He has met my parents on their last visit, and he is really a lovely, bright, and curious kid. He started catching up with some of the words, and now we speak Spanish on a daily basis when he is with us. His mom didn't have an issue until he started to ask if he can come to my country next time we visit. We told him we got to discuss it amongst the adults, but he is very interested. We got no issue. My family has said he is more than welcome. I come from a blended family, and we would of course cover all the costs. She really dislikes the idea, but not because of the travel or anything else, but because she believes I are using money to turn him against her. There are many issues between them already because he thinks she is a liar for not telling him about his dad, and yeah, it's hard sometimes. But we talk a lot, stepson and I, about having blended families and understanding parents. Anyway, she told me that I had to stop encouraging or sharing the language and culture in my house when he is with us and speak the home country language or English. I said no. I've been very passive through the whole thing since the beginning, but I'm exhausted of her demands. I understand she is his mom, but I see no harm on the kid speaking Spanish like a native, plus the other two he does. I see no issue with him traveling abroad and having more cultural connections. Hell, I even offered to pay for her to come along with her husband. She says I'm being very snobbish, and she's going to see how to keep the kid away from me. Not possible. Her husband says I should be more understanding and not step on her toes when the kid already is not her biggest fan. My husband says he just wants the best for the kid and sees no wrong with him learning and traveling. I would like an outside, impartial perspective about it. Absolutely not the asshole to me in this situation. And it's mainly because I think it's amazing to be learning about other cultures and languages at a younger age. I think that's absolutely amazing, and I'm surprised that the mom isn't supportive of it. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's clearly like a jealousy thing, or something like that from when, at the very start, when it says she just wanted to rain on his parade. So yeah, that makes her a huge asshole for doing that, especially when the boy is embracing this culture as well, and wants to be a part of it and enjoys it. I think that's absolutely great, and it should be sort of nurtured as well, in my opinion. Anyway, we'll cover some comments, and then we'll move to the update to see what it says. And the first one's from Cubby Jethro, who says, "Not the asshole. She doesn't get to control what goes on in your house. She is his mother, but your husband is his father, has the right to make these decisions for him in his house, period. She can kick rocks. Yay, trying to dictate what language is spoken in your home. The child is gaining an incredibly valuable life work skill by being taught a second language by a native speaker." OP replies, "This, and it is actually his third one," says proudly, LOL. "I know it's our house, and she has no say, and I truly believe he's gaining so much, but she is his mom and makes me doubt myself." And Zilla the Broken says, "Not the asshole. She wanted to rain on your parade, and she wasn't expecting you to be standing there with your umbrella, welcoming the kid into your family. Keep doing what you're doing. Evidently, the kid loves you so much, you must be doing something right. If she's having issues with the kid, that's on her for how she speaks about you all in her home, and he's hearing it, quite possibly not liking it if he's clashing with her. This is how you raise well-rounded children, speaking multiple languages and traveling." And Annie B. Goods says, "Not the asshole. This woman only contacted her ex because she wanted help taking care of the child, and now that child is taken care of and thriving, she's jealous. It's her own fault. You're lucky that he likes you so much, and that he's so eager to learn about other cultures and languages. He sounds great." And one more from Traditional Artist 3 who says, "Not the asshole, but I'm a stepmom with a dramatic ex. Just be prepared for a lot of pushback and drama. You're definitely not in the wrong. It's beautiful that you accepted him so quickly. If anything, she should be happy he's loved, but it doesn't always work like that. I'll try talking to stepson and let him know that speaking Spanish will only be with you all, and to keep certain culture learning to himself. Although I feel that oppresses him, it could help cause less confrontation. She butted him into you all's life out of spite, and it is biting her on the ass. This is her karma." Now we'll move on to the update to see what that says. So, update. I want to thank you all for the nice messages, the mean messages, and the realistic messages. Anyway, my stepson is now staying most of the time with us, with no battle or issue. It is just what we decided after a proper heart-to-heart conversation between mums. When the time comes where there is possibility to go to my country, we will discuss it again, but at the moment, it is a yes. The heart-to-heart was a very emotional, complex talk, but I felt it had to happen. She is, after all, a part of my life forever, and I wanted to know she is the mummy no matter what. I saw a completely different side of her. I know it's not a magic wand, but I have noticed the changes. Tearing up already here. I am pregnant. I know I should not say so early. I was already when I made the first post but didn't even know, but we're also positive and almost on the clear line. Even my stepson's mom, everybody has taken it as a celebration. And the only time we had an issue was when we talked about bedrooms that are flat because my son thought he had to give a super nice one for my true babies, as he called it. But we assured him his bedroom is forever his unless we move. My parents will be arriving in the next months and asked if they can bring extra gifts to my son, so it is an easier transition, and his mom said yes. It seems somehow me having a baby has made her realize we are linked. Or I don't know. Maybe it was my husband saying he would not allow more disrespect, lol. My parents also asked if it is okay to bring gifts for her kid, and she said yes as well. My mom is the happiest person now because she is in full shopping mode, lol. She has been very civil and even nice, and in response, she has gained a better relationship with our son. I'm convinced he is smart enough to orchestrate all of it, but I have a mummy baby brain. We have all agreed to raise them all as together as possible. Her kids, our kid. I said I can contribute to the educational fund for all kids if she allows me. She said yes on the condition they all go to the same school. I want my kids in Spanish Kita. She wants her enormous Kita. I thought we have World War II again, but her husband told her my kids will speak Spanish no matter what she wants, and it is a useful language. So all kids in our tribe should speak Spanish, and she agreed. I almost fainted. Now we decided to divide care after daycare and Kitas, pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, and I will speak to the kids in Spanish so they are naturals. My son is the happiest because now he feels all his families are in sync, and he can just chill, and it makes me extremely happy. In addition, she said my son can come with us if he wants, but we need to let her know at least a year in advance, and she is doing the same with us, which I find reasonable, and that is probably my favorite update so far. It took me several moments to get through that without tearing up constantly. It's so nice to see, after the first post where it was pretty negative, to come into this one where it's just all positive most of the way through. I think it's fantastic. The child's going to thrive from it. The whole family is going to thrive from it, so absolutely wonderful update. What is your thoughts on this story? Let me know in the comments below, and we move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Boho356. Am I the asshole for telling my partner that my stepson spends too much time in our home and his mother needs to make more of an effort? Okay, so I've been dating this guy now for nearly 8 months. We've been living together for 2. Everything was going great. We're like best friends, have so much in common. His 4-year-old son is now proving to be a bit of a strain on our relationship, and I feel like I can't take him anywhere. His son throws tantrums, slams doors when he doesn't get what he wants, smashing the glass on my sister's door. When we buy him things, he says, "I didn't want that," or "I don't like it." When we take him to a store, he picks up everything he sees and throws tantrums when he doesn't get them, spits his food out when we cook for him, tells us he doesn't like us, making my 7-year-old niece cry when he says horrible things to her, as well as throwing her things off of our balcony, etc. He's a nightmare. Let me just add that his dad always has to buy him new toys every time he takes him out, which I told him he shouldn't. His mother is now treating us like a daycare. She had him for 1 day last week, and having him for 2 next week while she goes on holiday with her new boyfriend and going out with friends. My partner is now currently unemployed, and I'm the main breadwinner and struggling to support all 3 of us due to having to buy extra food and more gas and electric usage. I'm also woken up at 7 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday because my stepson wants the iPad charging or more games downloading when the weekends are supposed to be my time after working all day Monday to Friday. I don't finish until 8 p.m. I told my partner this has to stop, and my place cannot be treated like a daycare. He needs to either A, take him out weekends, or B, rotate it so we have him every other weekend. I feel like my life has been taken over, as well as my apartment, as his son has his own bedroom, and my things have been taken out of drawers and placed into plastic bags, which I'm now living out of. My partner is struggling being away from his son, and I feel horrible for giving him ultimatums, but I feel I need to look after myself too, as I never did in my last relationship. I suffer from depression and anxiety. I feel this whole living situation is making things worse. Am I the asshole? A quick edit which says, I'm not trying to stop my partner from seeing your son. I'm merely implying that the kid needs routine and equal time with both mom and dad on rotating days in which my partner also agrees. I know they come as a package and I'm willing to take this on, but neither parent is financially supporting this child. And I'm not going to come out with a verdict just yet because there was some additional info that comes out in the comments. So we're going to start with fake Mona Lisa, who says, everyone sucks here. Based on your post history, there is a lot more going on here. You jump right into moving in with a man who you've been with for 6 months after only recently leaving an abusive man you were with for 11 years. You've still been posting about the abusive ex in a very real, active way since a new relationship started. You are not ready to move on. What you're doing is unhealthy for you, for your new boyfriend, and for the child. You need time alone, a therapist, and peace and quiet. Leave. This is not a healthy dynamic for anyone, and it's up to you to take the reins and fix that. And Rings of Jupiter reply to this one saying, I agree with you, but the issue is the mental state of mind of Ope. She confesses to having been in an abusive relationship for 11 years. 11. These types of relationships always confuse me. Why would someone put up with that for so long? Well, I used to work for a non-profit agency that transitioned women who had been living in a battered women's shelter into their own housing, most with kids. One of the biggest reasons these women found themselves in the position was lack of self-worth. Some actually thought they deserved the fucked up treatment they got. So for OP to go from 11 years of hell into a new relationship so fast is not surprising. She appears to think she needs to be in a relationship. Quality is not on the menu. After feeling invalidated by 11 years of hell, she sought to be validated, but only to be sucker punched. But nothing will change for her unless she learns that she has worth. That she not only doesn't deserve to be treated poorly, but that she is a person worthy of respect and love. My guess is that the lack of self-value started somewhere back in her childhood. Until she addresses these issues, nothing we say here will sink in. She needs to be without a relationship with another until she establishes a trusting relationship with herself. Boyfriend needs to be evicted. Tell him it's me, not you, and if he won't go, call the cops. And we're finished with one more comment from Time and Entropy saying, everyone sucks here. Your house isn't being treated like a daycare. It's being treated like the home of a child's parent, which it is. You're in a relationship with a parent. You even need to come to terms that he might wind up with his kid full time, or you need to not be in a relationship with a parent. Little kids get up early, and if that bothers you, you should not be living with a kid and his parents. Not at all reasonable to tell the parent that his child just needs not to exist in your place. Your partner sucks for putting you in a position where you're living out of bags in your own home, for not disciplining his child, for spoiling his child, for putting the entire burden of supporting himself and his child on you. But here's the thing, he's not going to change. This is how he parents. This is how he deals with his ex. You've been dating less than a year, and this guy already has you supporting him. You are feeling mental health effects. You are struggling financially. Looking after yourself is the correct choice. The way you're doing it is not okay. The 4-year-old is a product of the parenting he is being provided. Your boyfriend is showing you what to expect, so either accept and get on board with a kid taking over your life, because that's what they do, or move this guy back out and think about whether this relationship will work long-term. Now, what do you guys think of this story? What do you think about what was initially said in the comments? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Am I the Cancelled Wedding? Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my half of our canceled wedding? My ex-fiancé and I came from very different cultural backgrounds. Our families live on entirely different continents. I explicitly told him before we even got engaged that I always wanted a small, low-key wedding. I know that his culture had huge, lavish weddings. They told me that this is what he wants. So when he got engaged, we had a long conversation which resulted in the compromise that we would have a big wedding in his home country, but dropped some of the other aspects of his culture that I wasn't so comfortable with or did not mesh well with my own culture regarding living situation and raising children. For future children, we did not have any children. This was not a huge amount of customs. In fact, we arranged to just drop one and alter two, so they streamlined better with my own culture. We were both happy as possible with this outcome. We began making booking reservations and paying deposits for our wedding. This was all out of his bank account. This is because we did not have citizenship in each other's countries, so it was far less complicated for everything to be paid from an account of the same country. The intention was that after we married, it would be much easier to get citizenship, and once citizenship was approved, we would merge our finances. And at this point, it would not matter who paid for the wedding since all of our money would be together. 3 weeks before we were married, his mother announced, got wind of one of the customs we had arranged to alter and lost it. Through conversations, they had found out about the other two, and eventually they threatened to disown him for being a bad son. They said I was cutting him off from his family and that if that was what he wanted, they would make it easier for him. He begged me to change my mind, but I was firm, saying that this is what we decided together. I wasn't going to drop our agreement because his family don't like it when there are plenty of aspects my own family are uncomfortable with. Relationships are about compromise and communication, and ultimately, the first priority are the two people in the relationship, not their family. He told me if I wouldn't budge, then the wedding was off. I told him I had made my compromise. I still wanted to marry him under our original conditions, when we had spent a long time negotiating and originally felt were fair. He said he changed his mind and did not want to marry me. After a few weeks, he contacted me asking me to pay him back for half the money he was unable to get back from the deposits we paid since it was so close to the planned date that we canceled. It was not a small amount of money. However, he was the one who called off the wedding, and even at this point, I would still marry him if he were to honor our original agreement. I don't think I'm obligated to pay. I told him this, and he is very unhappy since he now believes it is my fault that he canceled for being unwilling to be flexible. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my half of our canceled wedding? And there's a fairly lengthy edit which we'll cover straight away, which says, edit. It's come up a few times that if I were the one canceling the wedding, would I expect him to pay for half the cost? I've replied to a few comments, but it's coming up enough that I figure I'll add something to the post. If I had been the one canceling without his approval, I would have expected to pay the cost alone. If it had been a mutual decision, I would have expected to share the cost. In the context of our relationship, it makes sense for him to take the hit for this. There have been other, albeit less significant, cancellation of events that have been covered by the person who canceled. For example, I was unable to make our planned engagement shoot and paid for the cost of this. He was pre-covered, unable to attend a prepaid dinner event for which he covered the cost. We've always had a very balanced and understanding financial relationship. Edit 2. I copy and paste an earlier comment regarding the traditions my ex-fiancé compromised on. The traditions were regarding my role in the home as a wife and mother, multi-generational households, and methods of raising children, and the role of a child in the household. I don't feel comfortable providing more information than this, as I don't wish to give any more evidence towards our nationalities. Also, as a few of you are guests, English is not my first language. I tried to hide it, but I guess I still have improvements to make. All this to say that I apologize for any mistakes in my post or comments. Edit 3. My apologies to the mods for so many. My posts were unclear, and the misunderstanding seems to be directly affecting many people's judgments, according to their comments, so I will clarify. We made no compromises on the actual wedding. The wedding was to be entirely traditional, as my ex-fiancé wished. This would also not have been a one-day event, but spanning several days in events. Additionally, it seems that not being explicit on what compromises were made had an effect on my judgment. When I wrote the post, I didn't think this would affect my judgment, and so I did not include it. However, it seems that I was wrong, and therefore, in the interest of fair judgment, I will explain. For context, our intention was to live in my home country, not his. I didn't realize until after that he had not shared this plan with his family. This is why it was important to me that while we follow much of his culture, we also mix as much as we can into my own. The one custom I would not budge on rejecting was myself being required to be a homemaker and not go to work. I have a career I have worked hard for, and I am proud of. The first custom that we altered was that my ex-fiancé expected his family come to live with us. We negotiated that I would help them get citizenship so they could live close to us. They would not live in our home. We agreed that the only family of his would allow to live with us in our home would be his parents, and this would be if they were unable to take care of themselves any longer, or one of them had died, to avoid loneliness from the remaining parents. The second custom that was altered was that to me, it is very important that my children have a voice in the home and feel heard, that their opinions should be counted just as much as their parents. I wanted them brought up without a specific religion, but given the opportunity to choose once they are old enough. I also requested that punishments never be physical, and are not decided by other family members. I understand many of you would like to know our nationalities, but unfortunately, I've seen a lot of racism on Reddit and do not intend to fuel the fire of unnecessary comments towards my ex-fiancé's country. And coming into this without the edits, and it was always a not the asshole for me because, you didn't cancel the wedding. He canceled the wedding, and you made all the compromises before he went to his parents. So it was the parents on the other side of the family that were making all the calls on this and trying to railroad your wedding into something you didn't want. So absolutely not the asshole. and then wanting you to be a homemaker and all that other sort of stuff, absolutely not the asshole to me. But again, this is a culture-based one, so I always value everyone's opinions on this. But we'll go to the comments to see what they say, and please do remember they may have been before the edit itself. So, Bosco Bruised says, "Not the asshole, I'm so sorry, you must be heartbroken. I know it probably doesn't feel like it now, but you dodged several bullets." He's backing out of this wedding now due to family pressure. This shows you that he was always going to take his family side in arguments, and best you find out now. Sounds like he would have been one of those spouses who are extremely enmeshed in their parents' clothes, and you would have had mother-in-law and sister-in-law interference all the time. He had shown that he's happy to make agreements with you, compromises, then doesn't respect them. For example, he has zero regard for the agreements you had and the compromises you both made regarding the wedding. He's also now ignoring the agreements about the costs. And as for future kids, that agreement you made was never going to be respected either. I'm so sorry you had to call off your wedding so close to the date, but much easier and better now to discover how spineless and dishonesty is now, rather than having to go through a divorce and custody of arguments later on. Not the asshole. And Takani says that, "Not the asshole. You didn't cancel the wedding, he did. He canceled it after he decided to go against the agreement the two of you made. Since his family was in such an uproar that they threatened to disown him, time to get his money back from them. They can consider it the cost of getting their precious son back." And Quantum says, "Not the asshole, so you dodged a bullet there. Under no circumstances pay him a thing. He called the wedding off, he pays." Conscious Card says, "Not the asshole. He canceled. He should ask his awful family to help cover the costs." And Geomega says, "Not the asshole. So he pushed you to a much bigger wedding than you wanted. Agreed to skip 3 customs, but only if that meant following all the rest. Then reneged on the agreement and tried to strong-arm you into following all of his family's customs or else. And then you wouldn't budge. He inflicts or else, while still demanding you pay for half the giant wedding that you didn't want in the first place. Yeah, not the asshole. You don't mention exactly how much he expected you to compromise your own family and cultural traditions, but I suspect you did a lot more compromising than he did. That said, you should look at your legal responsibilities. If your name is on a bunch of contracts that are not canceled, you might be on the hook. You should also consider asking any legal advice, or whichever legal advice sub applies to your country, if not USA. They could help you determine if you have legal risk here.